Everybody, it's me again. What I'm going to do on this video, I'm actually going to show you how I paint my figures. I probably, like a lot of you, have seen some really nice layouts that's got figures on them, and basically the paint job's just blopped on. They're pre-painted, or people just painting them up quick themselves. So what I'm intending to do is just give a quick demonstration as to how I paint my figures and get them to sort of like that standard. All right, which I think is pretty decent. Now I've already started some. These here, what I'm using, they're actually railway crew that's in with all my railway sets that I've got, basically drivers and firemen. Now, as you can see, I've already started painting them. There's two colours on these for uniform. Now, I've not bothered videoing this because you're not daft, and I'm not going to treat you like you're daft, to be honest. So basically, first colour on here was a midnight blue, I think it was. Let's have a look. Yeah, midnight blue, which is this one from Anita's range. Okay, that painted over them totally. And then what I did then was basically get the this Copenhagen blue. Added a little bit of the midnight blue to it, just to darken it up a little bit, because that'd be too light really, that for the uniform. And just basically gently dry brushed it over and highlighted them. Okay, so next thing what I'm going to do is actually use some of this blue ink. You've seen it in my other videos. This blue ink, and I'm going to darken it up slightly, just to take the glow off it, to be honest, with this sepia. Now, that sepia I do actually use quite a bit, I will admit it, but it's better than using a straight black. Reason being is it'd just be too dark on the blue. That's why I use that dark brown instead. All I'm going to do is mix that up and then apply it to the figures on the colours, and that should actually tie it up, all the colours and the shades, so you get a nice sort of flow of shadow as well as highlight. Okay, so I'm going to pause this now till I've actually done it, because I've been running over on time with my videos and running out of memory. So I'm going to get on with this, and then I'll show you what I've done when I've done it. Okay. Right, so I've actually painted one of them up with the, as you can see there, with the ink. Okay, that's nicely drying off. Now, it is very watered ink, basically so that it drops into its shadows. Okay, so you can see the difference there between the two. I mean, some people might like to use inks, some might not. I do prefer inks, because it does pull the colours together and give them nice differences in shade, as you can probably see if I can pick it up there. Yep, and you can see it in there. It's just dropped some shadows in there. Okay, now, like I say, it is wet, so it's not going to show you the shadow as it should do, and all the colour pulled together as it will do when it's dry, but it does look a lot better than what it does at the moment. So I'll get on with others, and then we'll get on to the next stage. Okay, so there they are, all inked up now. I'm just waiting for these to dry. Now, something I thought of while I was actually putting the wash on is basically the washes themselves are really watered down. Okay, now the reason for that is you can pour it on, and if you think it's not pulled it together enough, you can always put another light wash on. Whereas if you use a lot of colour and it's heavily inked, that takes that away from it, and you have to be really quick. I mean, I learned this many years ago when I first started painting and using ink washers, that you have to put copious amounts of water on just to try and get it off, so it lightens off. I mean, I've painted figures, a lot bigger than this and a lot smaller than these. I mean, anything from like 6mm tall right up to 1/16 scale figures, which stand about 120mm tall. So these are you know, 20mm, they are a fairly small figure, but you can pull a lot of detail out of them. Using them washers, it does help, okay, and it makes them look a lot better than just a blob of paint. I mean, I ought to find some out actually that I've purchased off eBay, and I'll show you what sort of paint job that some people do. And to be honest, if they're going to go to town on the actual layout, you know, I think the people that's going to be populating it, the figures that's going to be populating it, ought to look decent. So it basically, you know, enhances the layout. So just give me a second, and I'll be back and show you what I'm on about. Right, okay, so I'm back. Now, these are somewhat I got with some figures that I purchased that were unpainted, and these were the painted figures that actually come with it. I think the guy just, you know, basically been painting them and give up. Now I can see, as you can see here, he's used what looks to be gloss enamels, which, to be quite honest with you, you know, look, I'm not going to diss his painting skills or all like that, because I mean, like I say, I've had many years of practice, and you know, yeah, it'd make a decent job for somebody, but for me, nah. I don't see point in going to town, you know, super detailing models and stuff like that, and getting really brilliant locos, running around my track and going past figures like this. So, you know, basically what I'm going to do with this, I'll strip it and repaint it, you know, as I will do with others that I got with them. But you see what I mean. I mean, you can get some pre-painted figures from certain manufacturers, and they're not much better, just a single colour, and nah. So I mean, this is why I thought I'd do this tutorial, to help people that, you know, have not had that experience that I've had. I mean, obviously there's going to be people out there that's got better painting skills than me, and you know, I'm always looking at different people's painting skills and what they're actually achieving and how they're doing it, and that's basically how you build your repertoire. It's like building your modelling skills. You know, you're learning all the time. So, you know, I'll let these dry, and we'll get on with the tutorial. Okay, so at this moment in time, the actual engine drivers are dry, and hopefully you can, you know, see the detail that's been picked out with using inks, and then that dry brushing that I did to the first colour. You know, I mean, that actually shows shadowing better. Drivers are actually dry, the firemen are still, you know, drying. So what I'm going to do, I'll carry on with drivers, and we'll go from there. So next thing, after the main colour's been done, which is the overalls, I'll be doing the flesh work. Now, I use a couple of different colours for flesh. My base coat is this one, which is a medium flesh, which again is an acrylic paint from Americana range. I've always done my flesh like this, so it doesn't matter whether it's, you know, a 6mm figure or if it's a 120mm figure. These are colours what I use, tried and tested. Okay, now I'm going to be putting a wash on this, you know, and I think it might surprise you, but you know, it does work, and it really does detail the features of figures. So I'll get on with it and let you see how it goes on. Now again, like I say, it's an acrylic paint, so it's water based. Okay, so I'm going to get on, paint the figures up on flesh, and then I'll be back to you. Sorry it keeps going on and off and you're not actually seeing me doing any painting, but I'm doing this on my mobile phone, so you know, I'm trying to do two things at once and it's not working, so bear with me. Okay then, so that's the base colour of the flesh done. Okay, I'm just bringing it back out so it focuses. In the time I've been painting, these have actually dried off. Now, yeah, I have actually gone over a little bit. I can see it even better coming through my phone camera. But don't worry about if you do that sort of thing. You know, it's going to get covered anyway, so don't worry about it. One thing I did think of while I was painting them, to actually tell you, and that is, don't load your brush too heavily. It's a big mistake that a lot of people make, and hence they get a blobby effect, or they've got too much paint in an area, especially on a small figure like this, that they can't get rid of it. So don't load your brush too heavily. Now that Americana's paint, like I say, it's acrylic. I usually put a couple of drops of water in top, because I actually use the cap as my palette when I'm just using a single base colour rather than mixing. If I'm mixing, I mean, well, you can see here, you know, where I've mixed inks and other paint colours up on them palettes. So, you know, but if it's a single colour, just use the actual lid. As I'm talking about paints, the ranges I use that are acrylics are basically, you know, Crafters, Anita's Craft Paints, Deco Art, Americana, even down to the metallics. I always, you know, they're lovely paints. Use Games Workshop. I've got quite a few of their actual acrylic paints. They are very expensive, and to be quite honest, you can find alternative colours to what the Games Workshop actually produce, where you can get something like this size in comparison to one of their pots, which is like that. So if I put that there, I mean, you'll have to excuse dust, but you can see the difference in size of pots, and that'll probably cost you about 3 times as much as what that will, and it's the same blooming stuff. So, you know, the markup value on the Games Workshop paints is just horrendous. But anyway, enough of that. Back to the figures. So that's the base colour of the flesh done. Now's the time when I actually put a wash on them. Now what I'm going to be using is this. Now, I did used to use a chestnut ink from Games Workshop, but they don't actually produce it anymore. So this is a the Daler Romney inks, and this one, as you can see, is Red Earth. So all this is a matter of giving it a really good shake, get all, you know, bits off the bottom, etc., and load the pipette. And again, I'm going to be adding water to that ink in my palette, quite a bit. It's not going to be too watery, but it's going to be watery enough so that it actually goes into creases, you know, and the actual features of the faces and hands. Now on these, unfortunately, because they're Chinese made, they're not as detailed as what you would get from a different companies. I'm not going to go naming companies and this, that and other, but the more, when you look at your figures, if you want to paint like this, look for figures that have got, you know, a lot of detail on there, you know, and really nicely cut, rather than going for the cheaper ones that's just got like a blob for an head and you know, longer blobs for bodies. Because obviously, if you haven't got creases and cuts and things like that, it's hard to pick it out and get that detail in there. So, you know, get something decent. All right. So when I've had the ink, I'll come back to you. Right, okay then. So as you can see, that's the ink put on. Now the mixture that I used, like I said, was that earth red colour, and it was one droplet from the pipette to 4 brushfuls of water. Now the brush I'm using is this one, which is a, let's have a look, I think it's a 00, to be honest. So look, just trying to get the, yeah, it is, it's 00. So 4 brushes full of that, mixed together, and then basically put on the figures. Now again, loaded the brush, didn't put too much on, but the beauty about inks is that, you know, if you do put too much on, you can always move it around. And if you're doing sort of like 3 or 4 figures like this, you can always put whatever you've over put on too much on one onto a different figure, so you can move it around, and it's quite, you know, easy to work with. So as you can see, they're on there now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put another coating of this medium flesh on, but rather than you know, paint the whole piece, all I'm going to do is just touch it up on the cheeks, touch them up on cheeks and high spots of the flesh to start with. Now, there's going to be a bit of that brown left in. I mean, some people would leave it like that, and yeah, they do look okay. But, you know, I'm not into that heavily tanned look, umpa lumpa look, I call it. That is basically just my shadow. Okay, so now we're going to be working up from the shadow to the highlight. Alright, so the next bit is the mid-tone. So I'll be back when I put the mid-tone on. Okay then, so that's the first highlight that's done. As you can see, it's picked out a lot of the facial features, and also, you know, some of the hands. I mean, unfortunately there's some plastic mould lines that I couldn't get off with scalpel, and eyes not being that good these days, I've had to, you know, do with what I can in clean up process. But at least it gives you an idea. I mean, they're starting to come to life. I mean, some people, you know, they might leave it at that and be happy with that. You know, myself, I think another highlight is warranted, but, you know, like I say, it's all down to personal preference. So now, one thing I did forget to tell you, I have actually changed brush. This one is a 5-0, what I'm using now, very small tip. That's what I use for the highlights, and I'll be using that on the what I call the super highlights on here. So that colour, what I'm going to be using now, it's an old flesh colour. it's actually peach, and it's a very, very light peach. Okay, now that is a really good skin tone. I mean, you can see there. I mean, my hands are a bit red, but you know, it more or less matches up with flesh, but on my hand, but on a figure it just pulls it out. Okay, so I'll do that, and again I'll come back to you. All right. Right, so there we have it. That's the final highlight on the flesh. Now, sorry it's not as clear as what it were earlier on, but my phone's actually on charge. My battery started going, so a bit of a oops moment for me. But at least then you can see how it is. Okay, so next thing will be just detailing, such as belts, the boots, shovels on firemen and coal, and the buttons. And then basically that'll be the figures done, all apart from the boxes that the drivers are sat on. Okay, and that'll be that. So what I'm going to do, I'll do the buttons, etc. Hopefully my phone will have a bit more charge and I'll be able to take it off charging lead and give myself a bit more room to manoeuvre. But there you have it. Okay, catch you in a minute. Right, so there we have it, finished product. So as you can see, I've put the belt buckles in, buttons, painted the peaks on the caps, done the actual shovels, and painted in the hair. I mean, all I've done with that is put different shades of hair on, you know, different colours, like grey for the older drivers, and then, you know, through to brown, light brown, that sort of thing. But you can mix and match them. But that's basically how I paint my figures. I mean, like I say, I mean, I've been at it quite a few years. One thing I must note on this, I mean, I've actually painted under the actual shovels. Now the shovels themselves, I've painted them black, and just basically dry brush some silver on it, so it looks like, you know, it's worn, but it's actually covered in something they've had quite a lot of use, which we all know a fireman's shovel would have a lot of use, a real lot of use. So okay, so that's them there done. Hopefully I'll be banging them in engine soon, and you'll be able to see them there. I mean, some people might say, why go to that extreme of painting them like that just to stuff in your engine and you're not going to see them? Well, it's a bit like this. This is a truck I painted. I've mentioned it in what they call it in a video before. It's an AEC. I did it as a coal truck. That's where the coal put it back there in itself. But if you look inside, there's Mr. Driver, and he's basically painted the same as them loco crows. Can't see him, but I know he's painted. So, you know, that's me. But I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Hope it's of help. If you've got any questions, you know, stick them down at the bottom of the video and I'll answer them as best I can. And don't forget to hit that like button. It just enthuses me to actually do a few more videos.